Hey there friends, I hope you're doing well and getting some paint on your minis. If you're anything like me, you've been in the hobby for a while and you've accumulated piles and piles of projects, more than you can shake a brush at. You probably have mountains of unpainted, or maybe even worse, unassembled miniatures. Hobbyists tend to have their fingers in a lot of different pots. They gain specialties over time, such as the ability to paint, to assemble miniatures, to build dioramas. But there's one thing that we all seem to become specialized in unintentionally, and that's hoarding. See, we collect. Us as hobbyists, we aren't just painters, we aren't just gamers, but we like to collect things as well. I don't know why that is, but it seems to be a disease that we are all cursed by. Now, while accumulating a large pile of unpainted or unassembled miniatures isn't really a problem in and of itself, over time it can become this big hurdle that slows us down a little bit, kind of a speed bump in our hobby. See, while painting a miniature may take you 4, 10, 20 hours, which is fine if you're having fun when you're doing it, when you go to take on a new project and the first thing you see is just piles and piles of boxes of miniatures that you need to be working on or feel like you need to be working on, it can be daunting. It looks like this just insurmountable, formidable task right before you. In the past, I've often found myself between projects looking at boxes of unassembled miniatures, my cabinets full of tiny gray blank canvases, and I'm just paralyzed, asking the question, what do I work on next? Some things I might be asking myself are, what do I need to paint up next in order to play that sweet new game that just came out, so I can have my fully painted army? What should I be painting next in order to get a box off of my shelf and to create space for more? Because let's be honest, we're gonna fill that hole, right? That's what we do. The more miniatures you have on your shelf staring back at you in an unpainted state, the more answers there are to those questions, and the more paralyzing it can be because you don't know what the right answer is. Even worse is when you have unfinished projects on your table and they're just staring you back in the face like they're failures. They can completely kill your motivation, slam your momentum into the ground, stop you to a total halt. But here's the thing, for someone that is focused on painting as a hobby, these are all self-imposed barriers, and they can be dealt with. You need to stop thinking about these unfinished projects as failures. You need to stop thinking about these piles of unassembled miniatures or unpainted miniatures as a blockade. They are more like opportunities. Something you can dive into, something new you can try, something you can create. You don't need to finish off those half-finished projects. You don't need to finish painting that army. You don't have to do that. Do it when you're more excited for it. Finish that project when the motivation comes back to you. You don't have to assemble one of those boxes that are sitting on your shelf just to get the box out of the way. Return to it when you're ready for it. That's fine. This is part of the hobby. We have little tasks lying around all over the place, and they aren't burdens, they are just opportunities. Keep thinking about that, opportunities. Now, as far as getting motivation, there's an answer to that. Just keep painting. When you finish a project, you gain this sense of satisfaction, and with that comes momentum. And you need to learn how to carry that from project to project. So when you've finished XYZ project and you're looking at your collection, you're like, oh geez, like what do I do next? Just paint another mini. You don't need to look at your unfinished army and say, oh, I gotta do those 20 skeletons. I gotta do those 40 zombies. I gotta do whatever. If that's daunting to you, if that feels like a burden, then instead, take one miniature. Just take one off your shelf, one that looks fun, one that you're inspired by, one you're excited to paint, one that looks like something fun and new, and just work on that. Just paint it. Take that momentum from your last project and just let that roll right into the next. Sure, maybe you feel this need to paint up the rest of that army or the rest of this little force or that bust you started painting but didn't finish. But if it's exhausting, paint something fun, paint something new. Spend 4 or 5 hours, finish off a single miniature, and just build up more momentum until you're ready, until you're inspired, until you're excited to paint that project that's in your backlog. Because this is a hobby. We're here for fun. Let's just keep the fun rolling. The main point of this video is that we need to stop asking questions like, what should I be painting? What do I need to be painting? What is in my backlog? What haven't I finished? When you're starting a new project or going back into a project, don't start asking yourself those questions. We need to ask ourselves, what looks like fun to paint? What's something I haven't tried? What is something that I feel inspired by? What color do I want to paint right now? Those are the questions you should ask yourself, because those are the fun questions. Those are the questions where you're going to take on a project and you're going to have a great time from beginning to end. Because that's why we're here. We're here to paint, we're here to play, we're here to have fun. So just do that. And eventually you will build up enough momentum from jumping from project to project that suddenly your backlog is just disintegrating because you're just moving through it. You're just having a good time, and with fun, time passes pretty quickly. Now, if it's just the idea of painting as a whole that is kind of deterring you, if you're feeling just general painting exhaustion, you can try something related but different. Why not try building a piece of scenery? Why not try making new kinds of bases? Just take a bunch of blank bases and be like, maybe we can do a jungle style base for my next army. Let's see how that looks. Let's do a desert base. Let's do an ice base. Let's build a diorama. Let's watch some videos online to get inspired for my next project. Let's learn. Let's watch some videos about new techniques of how to paint. Something I've never done before. Find some inspiration for that next project. You can go on sites like Cool Mini or Not, or Daka has a gallery. I'll put some links in the description below. And you can just peruse images of projects that other people have worked on, and you can find inspiration that way. Often, just finding something as a jumping off point can really propel you through your next project and give you that momentum that perhaps you've lost because you've just been so tired of going through these motions day after day. Essentially what I'm saying here is never mentally tax yourself or burden yourself or find stress for yourself in this hobby, because that's what it is. It is a hobby. Let's just have fun. Let's play games. Let's paint models. Let's talk about it. Let's just have a good time. And if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling exhaustion, take a break. Try something else. There's many other things we can do within and outside of the hobby. Stop thinking about that collection as a pile of shame and start thinking of it as a pile of potential. There's so many things to do in this hobby, so many different ways to have fun. I'm sure you can find a way to pivot and find that excitement again. And once you've done that a few times, you can just jump around and just constantly find new ways to have fun within this beautiful creative realm of painting and playing games. So just grab a brush and paint a mini. Doesn't matter what it is or how much time you spend on it. Just get a project completed and carry that sense of satisfaction, that sense of motivation with you, and wear it as a badge. Because that's something that you're going to be able to look down at and say, I can do this. I can get through the next project, and I remember what it feels like to be accomplished, to get something done, to have something nice and new to put on my shelf and say, hey, I did that. So thanks again for listening. I hope you continue to get paint on your minis and have fun while doing it. So remember, until next time, paint today for a better tomorrow. Thanks. Have a great day.